If anything, when you get a new MGMT album, you're expecting the unexpected. Today, we're going to be looking at their fifth album, Loss of Life. Stick around for our top tracks as well as our final verdict. Good morning to you, Al. Take us through what your thoughts were.
Yeah, good morning, mate. How good is this album? I've always loved MGMT and their ability to cross-pollinate an album with different genres, and this is absolutely not a letdown at all, mate, from start to finish. I'm already calling it a headphones album, and by that I'm meaning it is worthy of sitting down by yourself for 45, 50 minutes, putting on a good pair of headphones and immersing yourself in the sound that is MGMT. I'm struggling to pick a top three tracks, which we'll mention soon. What are your initial takes on this as well, mate? Are you feeling the same as I am?
I am. I can hear that this is a little bit more adult contemporary compared to maybe what they've been previously doing. So it's an evolution in a lot of ways, if that makes sense. I think they took a hard turn to the left or right after Oracular Spectacular into Congratulations. But I guess from that point, it has been a little bit of an evolution. So they are doing the adult contemporary, but they're doing it in their own way. So you can definitely see the DNA there. Really enjoyed this. But Al, I'm interested in your top three tracks. How hard was it to pick something?
It was pretty hard, mate. But to nail down a top three tracks from 3, 2, 1, I've got number 3, Nothing to Declare. Kind of reminds me similar of the first time I heard Weekend Wars off the first album. That beautiful harmonies and vocals, just absolutely flawless from start to finish. Of course, it's a single, but the other tracks that I'm really enjoying at the moment, coming at number 2 for me, would be Dancing in Babylon, which features the artist Christine and the Queens. And this particular film clip really harks back to the 80s, mate. It's got one of the boys dressed up almost like Pig Issel from Roxette with the big hair and all that kind of stuff. And it just nails it. And I especially like the changes in this song. I think about the 3-minute mark, it just has this awesome kind of downward spiral kind of crescendo into the end of the song. And it's just brilliant. But the number one track that I'm enjoying so far, and there's lots of comments and love on YouTube about this, is Nothing Changes. It's almost like this David Bowie Cure vibes kind of thing, and it goes for 6 minutes, and it is absolutely fantastic, mate. I'm going to call it, it's my favourite track so far of 2024. We're only in late February, but I'm absolutely loving it, mate. I know you've got a couple of different tracks here, mate. What have you got for us?
I've got a couple of different tracks, but it was really tough to find a top 3. Loss of Life Part 2 I've nominated as one of my top 3. There is Loss of Life, which is the final track, so they switched it around a little bit. But this song reminds me of Speak to Me. So the opening track of Dark Side of the Moon, it does recite Welsh poetry from, I think, the 13th or 14th century. So it is very... it's very familiar sounding, so I'm actually not sure where I've heard this before. Let me know in the comments if you know. But it has a companion, which is the final track, Loss of Life, which has a very, very distinct Pet Sounds sound to it.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think as a pair of songs, they're great as bookends. The other one that I liked is also Dancing in Babylon. I really enjoyed that. I think it is something that... I guess with 80s style ballads, Al, you used to get bored of it. I think when they first came out in the mid 80s or whatever, they were the ones. They're the classics that you listen to, but they got tired as a genre. But I think why I like this one is, and again, you talk about the crescendo. You talk about the crescendo, and they seem to throw something different into the mix with that particular song that makes it interesting. And I didn't think that I'd ever be calling out an 80s ballad as being something that I feel as being my favourite song. The other one that I like is Bubblegum Dog, which has, again, it shows the songwriting craft, Al. Like, they're very good at the songwriting craft. It reveals itself after listening to it a few times, but you hear T-Rex, you hear a bit of Bowie, you hear about the sort of storytelling, the Kinks storytelling in this as well. So all of those things are things that MGMT have obviously taken on board as influences over their years, and you can definitely hear it with that song. So, but it was difficult. I could have picked a number of different tunes, mate. It was
absolutely.
It was very, very difficult to pick anything. But I guess now it comes to the rating, and I'm not going to be surprised if it's going to be very high.
Yeah, look, mate, it's not often I give albums 5 stars, but this is absolutely flawless from start to finish. I think the proof will be in the pudding. I think people will be listening to this album for many years. I think they've been able to nail it in terms of being able to kind of keep the record execs happy by having a few singles that kind of ticks all the boxes, but they have not stopped creating something that's different. And for me, this is a 5-star album, mate. And I don't know. I'd be interested where you're going with this, but it's a solid 5 from me.
Yeah, I'm going to give this 4.5 stars. I think congratulations. I'll give 5 stars had we been rating that particular album at the time. This album is definitely a worthy challenger for Album of the Year. I would not be surprised if it gets a Grammy nomination, sort of in the alternative category. So I'm definitely one for MGMT. I'm on board with the cult of this particular band. It gets better with every listen, and look, it's one of those ones that it might end up being 5 stars. You might feel differently after subsequent listens, and sometimes albums do that after a while. So great album. Definitely check it out. Let us know in the comments. That is our review of Loss of Life by MGMT.